like to look at this?
I mess around. I don't play.
You got one? All right. Anybody hasn't seen one of these?
No, I haven't.
It's an electronic tuner, and it's very, very handy. You know, some people pride themselves so much on the ear. See, you hear a tone. Your red light should be right in the middle, and here tells you the key, and there tells you right where it should be.
It should be right in the middle of
Yeah,
that.
right in the middle.
Right.
You play a single note.
Alice, what do you set yours on? Slow or fast or doesn't
Oh,
matter?
mine's set to 4.8.
How does that tell you the key?
When you turn to
I
9,
think
there's
it
a slow
flashes
and
on.
fast.
No.
Then I
No,
know more
mine
about
just has one setting.
How does this tell you the key?
All right, see, you look down here, and you'll see a light down here.
Oh.
So when you get the A set up, and then that's right in the middle there,
Yeah.
you right on to it.
That's A.
Yeah. It's a very great help when you're practicing for contests, and you want to get G sharp
that's-
on D just right. You
Oh,
can
I
play
see.
into that.
There is
and
a light
when it's right on.
Come
Yeah,
down.
that's,
See?
oh, there now.
Comes down underneath here.
Yeah.
That's quite a thing.
Yeah, they're quite helpful. Fiddlers hate to be told their fiddles are out of tune. Of course, that's something you never tell another fiddler. You never say, go tune your fiddle, it's out. You know, you just don't do that. But you can very nicely say, would you like to try my electric tuner? It makes music sound a lot better when you tune. Now, I'll try that again. I don't know if I can do this or not. The train's getting farther and farther away. All you can hear is just a whisper on the tracks. Well, you know, it wasn't nice when my dad was gone. There was 3 of us kids there at the house, not too many, but it was Depression days and it was hard times. And we knew what happened on the railroad sometimes. A lot of times he'd get called out in the middle of the night and he'd have to walk the top of the cars twice between here and Buffalo. You know those little ladders up on the top of some of your cars? Well, he used to have to walk along that ladder twice on the way between here and Buffalo. And sometimes they were icy. Can you imagine walking on the top of one of those railroad trains with it moving and it icy? And if you fell down between the cars, what happened? The railroad said, goodbye and good luck if you had a leg cut off. That was before the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen. They had no recourse. They were left with nothing. So when Daddy went on the road, we didn't like it very well. Before he'd go on the road, my mother packed a little black bag, a little 3-cornered satchel. She put a dozen eggs in, she put some bread in, sometimes she put potatoes in. They'd all eat together on the caboose. They cooked their meals together on the caboose. Anybody here work on the railroad? No, I guess not. Well, she put their meal together, and always in the top of that valise, she put a little note, and it said, Lee, we love you, come home safe. And you know, when Bill Bramer happened to be the engineer, my dad was a brakeman and later a conductor, but when Bill Bramer happened to be the engineer, and they went by our corner, we'd hear this. That meant that Daddy'd be home in about an hour. So that's the end of my report. I like it far better. Although a man who was grand champion in New York State, Don Woodcock,
Yeah.
won the
Oh, yeah,
championship
the
3
Lyden
times.
cannonball.
He used his fiberglass bow.
Oh,
He
I
made
don't want to
beautiful
ask
music.
you how much.
yeah, and the record, the old number 9.
Well,
About
my
the
bows aren't
97.
terribly expensive.
KT.
In fact, this was in a case that the bow,
Of course, I
the
know
fiddle
the
was given to
ball.
me. It was in an attic, and this lady was told to clean out the house, and she could have anything that was left in it. And there was a violin with 2 bows in the case. But this happens to be a snakewood bow, and then it's got this old-fashioned tip out of here. So I like this bow quite well. And I'm not like many women. I like kind of a heavy bow. You want to feel the balance on that bow? That's kind of a heavy bow. And I like a heavy bow. I don't have to press down so hard. And I put a lot of, when I play the fiddle, I don't play it light and pretty. I play with a lot of force.
What are the different things that you do with the bow? Are there different movements?
Different movements? All right. You have a detached bow, and I use that a great deal. A lot of fiddlers don't use it too much, but I am very fond of a detached bow. A detached bow is where you're actually slurring, but you stop and make a separate note of it. In other words, you hesitate and keep on going. Now that's called the detached bow. Then you have your bouncing bow. You have a bouncing bow where you bounce to get different effects out of it. And of course then you have your pizzicato where you don't use your bow at all, where you play up here, where you just my pizzicato isn't very good because I've got kind of a horn in there for a finger instead of having a nice, and I can't reach over here to pizzicato too good. One thing to remember when you're learning to play a violin is very important. You've seen the hammers on the inside of the piano. Did you ever see the hammers that come up and hit the keys? Your fingers are taking the place of those hammers. Where the hammer hits the key and makes it ring, your fingers are hitting the violin and shortening the string. And that makes you a higher note than your open string. But when you come down, your fingers have got to be like hammers. And so I practice sometimes playing without a bow. I don't know if you can hear that down there, but I can hear the tune without the bow. So I can get a good hammer, a good solid hammer. You don't lift your fingers up any higher than you have to, and you don't lift your fingers up if you don't have to. Your fingers, when it's on a violin, is a little bit like a spider's leg. Did you ever watch a spider walk much? They never pick all their feet up at one time. If they did, they fell right down on their bellies. They only move 1 foot at a time. It's the same thing when you're learning to play a violin. Don't pick your finger up unless you have to. If you've got your finger down here, see, and then you don't lose your place for your note. You don't have any fret to show you where your note is on the violin. No fret at all. Just your keyboard, and you have to slide your fingers to find the right note. Well, there's nothing that sounds worse than looking for that note. You want to be able to find the note quick, so you don't want to have to slide your fingers. But if you get your note, you get it in the right place, and then you're going to go on up. If you leave that finger right down, when you come, you don't have to fish around and look for it. So don't pick your fingers up unless you have to. Try not to slide. Now, if you've got to slide into positions, there's a special way to do that too. Like you're going to slide with your 3rd finger, but you want to play your 1st finger when you get up there. You slide with your 3rd. You can't imagine what the people I help have to go through. This is what I teach them to do. Isn't that a terrible thing to listen to by the hour? And that's what I make them practice. Because when you slide up to your 3rd position, you cuff your hand against here. In fact, just where I've been sliding, you can see the mark on my hand. You cuff up here. So if you start here, your 3rd finger here is going to sound just like your open D. Just an octave apart. So if you want to learn to slide in 3rd position, you just take your finger. You learn to stop right where that sound is right. If you're playing on the 2nd down here, you slide with your 2nd, but you play the 1st when you got it there. And then you don't get an awful slippery sound. It sounds much nicer. I get on things like this, and it's probably boring to some of you people that don't play the violin or don't like the violin.
You play Soldier's Joy?
I will. I'd love to. I love that tune. That's a wonderful fiddle tune. I think every fiddler that ever played likes the Soldier's Joy. Did I hear any more tunes?
How about the Irish Washwoman?
The Irish Washerwoman, well, that's one of our tunes that, I don't know if that actually came over from Ireland or not. Sometimes I wonder. But I certainly bet that it was an old Irishman that wrote it.
That upper part is where I never did learn.
On the,
And the low part I can play all right, but that upper part.
the Irish woman?
Yeah.
Washerwoman?
Yeah.
It really isn't too hard if you hold your fingers down the right
Yeah,
place.
that's right.